Guys, we're finally here. My Hero Academia Season 7. And that sounds like such a weird thing to say. Like 7 years of My Hero Academia already. That's just crazy, fam. This show has come a long way. Some people say it fell off. Some people have dropped it. As for me, I'm trying to see how the story wraps up. I'm still sticking with the show. They kicked off this episode with a banger, man. Star and Stripes versus Shigaraki, which was fire. But before we get to that, let me talk about the opening real quick. I think it was pretty okay. I personally prefer the opening that they used for the Vigilante Deku arc, but that's just me. They did show certain things I wasn't expecting them to show. There was one thing I wanted to point out with this opening. It was a very split-second clip of Deku running with the students, and if you look at the color of his lightning, the color of his lightning is light blue as opposed to the standard green he usually emits from One for All, right? This is just my theory, but this is a representation of him using his final quirk. For obvious reasons, I'm not going to spoil what that quirk is or what it does, just in case any anime onlys are watching. If it is what I think it is, that's actually going to be pretty sick if Studio Bones does that, where each time he uses his final quirk, the color of his lightning changes. That would be sick, but that's just me though. Now that's out of the way, let's get straight into the episode. So the episode begins in America at an Air Force base, with a few of the pilots watching the news and seeing how Japan has basically been turned into Gotham City, with All For One being set free by Shigaraki and villains running amok everywhere, and the #1 US hero Star and Stripe appears. And bro, I'm not even gonna hold you yet. The first time I read this in the manga and I saw her character, for some reason I just thought that she was All Might's daughter. The resemblance to All Might was just a lot. I thought that All Might was in America around on some Drake shit and had a secret daughter, allegedly. Kendrick is cooking this man right now, bro. Drake has worse friends than Jesus, fam. Star and Stripe isn't All Might's daughter, she's just a fangirl cosplaying as him. So we see All For One in his hideout with Spinner, talking about his grand, evil and master plan. Stealing One For All isn't even his final goal, that's his midterm goal. And he tells Spinner how he has so many connections around the world, and essentially how he's basically in control of everything. At this point, this talking ballsack is basically the cause of every single bad thing happening in the My Hero Academia universe. The reason why the economy is fucked is because of him. The reason why Hero Society is the way it is because of him. I won't be surprised if he's even Deku's dad, or if he's even behind the creation of quirks in the first place. And some of you guys might think I'm joking by saying all those things. Bro, it could be true, because if you're a manga reader, it's crazy what this man does. The amount of power and influence that Horikoshi has given this man is just insane. And All For One tells Spinner that the only person who can stop him now is Star and Stripe, and this guy is just salivating at the idea of stealing her quirk and becoming all powerful. All For One sent out Shigaraki to go and confront her to try and steal the quirk. This is a very different Shigaraki that we've seen in the series so far. Bro is having an identity crisis. He doesn't know if he's actually Shigaraki or if he's All For One. In this episode, it confirms that All For One and Shigi are fusing together, and that the process is about 98% complete. I'm not even gonna hold you, I'm not really the biggest fan of this. I think that personally it just kind of ruins Shigaraki's character in a way, because Shigaraki had such a great development from seasons 1 to season 5, especially coming into his own as the leader of the Paranormal Liberation Front. So at that point I really wanted him to be his own character and to stand on his own. So Star and Stripe confronts Shigaraki up in the air. She's already aware of who he is and what quirks he has. The animation they used for Star and Stripe looks very different to the animation they used with Shigaraki, especially when you compare like the line work and everything. It looked way more comic book like. If that was the intention to do that, I think that's a pretty good idea. Shigaraki attacks Star and Stripe, and Star and Stripe uses her quirk New Order to try and suffocate Shigaraki. And bro, her quirk New Order has to be top 3 strongest quirks in the series. After touching something and calling out its name, it basically allows her to create rules that she wants on that particular thing. It's almost like a form of reality warping. That is fucking broken, bro. No wonder All For One wants that quirk. Shigaraki starts to suffocate, and the fighter jet bros shoot lasers at him to try and take him out, but Shigaraki with his super regeneration heals himself and redirects the attack at Star and Stripe, but Star and Stripe is able to impose a rule on the laser so that she isn't affected by its damage. I think Studio Bones did a very good job at making the fight high stakes, making it much more intense and making Star and Stripe look badass. Shigaraki tries to jump Star and Stripe. She punches my man in the face by buffing up her strength. It's revealed that the first rule that she uses is on herself to give herself superhuman abilities. As she punched Shigaraki, she imposed a rule control on him, that if he moves at all, his heart will stop. But you see, Shigaraki's consciousness and All For One's consciousness are melding together into one, which is not fully Tomura and it's not fully All For One. And I'm calling cap on that because this character, this version of Shigaraki we see here is basically All For One. The way the nature of quirks work in My Hero Academia is that it's not just a physical ability that an individual has, but it's also tied to their consciousness, which is why after One For All reached the point of singularity, Deku was able to tap into the vestiges of the previous users, because the quirk is a part of the individual's consciousness as well. That's how it works. At this point, we basically have two All For Ones, and bro, if you thought this man was mentally deranged, bro is going to be talking to himself throughout the entire season, which is weird as hell. To further prove that this version of Shigaraki is All For One, you just have to examine Shigaraki's behavior throughout this entire episode. Shigaraki was about to bust on just thinking about the idea of stealing Star and Stripes' quirk and even breaking down her quirk and everything. That's not Shigaraki's character. That is All For One's character. Star and Stripes' rule doesn't work on Shigaraki because this is a different being. Star and Stripes' quirk does have limitations though. First of all, there's a limit to how much power she can add to living things like her own body, which is why she wasn't strong enough to punch Shigaraki's head off, and she can only impose a rule on something that she can touch. If she's not able to physically touch it, a rule cannot be imposed, meaning that there's more freedom with non-living things than there are with living things. Star and Stripes sees the situation and she knows that none of the attacks they're using on Shigaraki are working, so she tells one of the fighter jet pilots to contact one of their commanders, and bro, she does the most badass thing, right? She imposes a rule on the air around her to create like a form of herself, and then she uses that to attack Shigaraki. And bro, reading this in the manga was freaking epic, but seeing the anime, it looked even better in my opinion. This chick was slapping my man, punching him, clapping on him and she was basically using that as a last resort. And on top of that, she even added a laser onto it to stab him straight to the bottom of the ocean. And bro, Shigaraki is strong as fuck for tanking this shit so far, man.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
In terms of All For One versus One For All, which is the better quirk, in my honest opinion, I'm taking All For One as the better quirk. The only bad thing about All For One is just having that talking in your mind. Other than that, bro, the power to take other people's power is the most overpowered power. Super regeneration probably has to be the most useful quirk in this series, because if Deku had that shit, bro, it'll probably be an even fight between the two, but Deku doesn't have that. And seeing the stuff that Shigaraki was able to withstand against Star and Stripe, at this point, how is Deku gonna beat this man? So Commander Akbar speaks to Star and Stripe and he warns her that if they use the incoming attack, her hero license will be revoked. But she tells him that she don't give a fuck because Shigaraki and All For One are a threat to the entire world, and in typical American fashion, they decide to send over missiles to attack Shigaraki. Star and Stripe turned into Oppenheimer in this episode. Sis requested for whole ass missiles to come and attack Shiggy while she's holding him off. Will they be able to do it? You have to wait until next episode. This season is confirmed to be 25 episodes. If any of you guys are watching, if you're manga readers, let me know down in the comments, where do you think that they're gonna end the season? Because I have a few ideas myself personally, but I'm not going to say it because those are spoilers. But let me know down below, guys. What a way to start off the season. They start off the season with a bang. This is going to be a very dark season, guys. It's going to be full of action, full of drama, and it's going to be pretty intense. One thing about My Hero Academia is that a lot of people say My Hero Academia has fallen off, and I think part of the reason why people have that perception is kind of twofold, both with the anime and the manga. I personally think that My Hero Academia season 5 was the worst season of My Hero, because of the way they just switched things up and everything. And when they confirmed this season and they confirmed that they're doing a movie, my expectations were very low, I'll be honest with you, because we saw how that panned out. I think on the manga aspect, the reason why people say My Hero Academia fell off is because of Horikoshi's writing. This is not the final season, you know, there's definitely going to be a season 8, and if Studio Bones really want to be greedy with it, they can probably milk the series to a season 9. There have been a lot of inconsistencies with the writing, especially during the final arc, and this is typically very common with manga authors. When they're in the final stages of the story, they do struggle to wrap everything up, and I think part of the reason why people have that perception because of Horikoshi's, you know, you could say bad writing or lack of consequences. I do have my own issues with the final arc of the story. I don't want to blame Horikoshi too much or clown him, because I've seen this happen to the best. Thank you to everyone who took out the time to watch the video. Please let me know down in the comments what you thought of the episode. If you're a manga reader, if you're anime only, if you enjoyed the content, please like, share and subscribe, and also check out the links in my description for some cool anime action figures that, you know, you guys might want to cop. Thank you guys. Until next week, stay blessed.